Morning. Could we please have everybody in their seats? Good morning, everyone. Let me assure you the musical piece will not be followed by singing. I would want to welcome all of you to the opening session of the third Eastern Partnership Forum. It's good to see so many of you here. I note a certain tendency. The forum is growing in popularity. Quite a few of you took part in yesterday's City game, more of you in the lottery after the City game, and even more of you in today's opening session. So it's good to see so many of you here. I would like to invite a number of speakers for today's opening speeches. But first and foremost, I would like to convey an apology on behalf of Minister Anna Zalewska of the Polish Ministry for National Education. She could not join us today, and the forum will be opened by Deputy Minister Maciej Kopeć of the Polish Ministry of National Education. Minister?
Szanowni Państwo, drodzy uczestnicy forum, w imieniu Polski pragnę serdecznie powitać wszystkich zgromadzonych na trzecim Forum Młodzieży Państw Partnerstwa Wschodniego w Warszawie. Polska od wielu lat przywiązuje dużą wagę do rozwijania relacji ze społeczeństwami naszych partnerów ze Wschodu, promowania dialogu międzykulturowego oraz budowania postaw tolerancji i otwartości. Potwierdzeniem tego zaangażowania jest pełnienie roli gospodarza trzeciej edycji Forum Młodzieży. Młode pokolenie powinno być w największym stopniu beneficjentem współpracy z Unią Europejską. To na Was spoczywa odpowiedzialność za przyszły rozwój oraz kształt Europy, Waszych państw i lokalnych społeczności. Polska od zawsze wspierała otwieranie unijnych inicjatyw na udział młodych ludzi z krajów Partnerstwa Wschodniego. Jest to najprostsza droga do budowania przyjaznych i dobrosąsiedzkich stosunków. Wymiana młodzieży w ramach programu Erasmus+ jest realnym przykładem mobilności i budowania kontaktów międzyludzkich, które owocują tolerancją, otwartością na innych i szacunkiem dla różnorodności kultur. Polska docenia uruchomienie przez Komisję Europejską nowego programu dedykowanego młodzieży z państw Partnerstwa Wschodniego EU4Youth. Jednocześnie z dużym zainteresowaniem i entuzjazmem przyjmujemy kolejną unijną inicjatywę Europejski Konkurs Solidarności, której celem jest zwiększenie zaangażowania młodzieży oraz różnych organizacji w działania prowadzące do budowania solidarności w Europie oraz różnych organizacji w działania prowadzące do budowania i rozwiązywania problemów społecznych. W tym miejscu chciałbym zaapelować o rozważenie otwarcia Europejskiego Korpusu Solidarności na młodzież z państw Partnerstwa Wschodniego. Wyrażając uznanie dla unijnych inicjatyw, pragnę podzielić się także polskim doświadczeniem w zakresie współpracy wielostronnej i dwustronnej. W ramach Grupy Wyszehradzkiej w obszarze młodzieży kontynuowana jest ścisła współpraca z państwami Partnerstwa Wschodniego. Od 2012 roku Grupa Wyszehradzka spotyka się corocznie w poszerzonym składzie z udziałem przedstawicieli państw Partnerstwa Wschodniego, co pozytywnie wpływa na zacieśnianie kontaktów, wymianę informacji oraz dzielenie się dobrymi praktykami. Spotkania nie ograniczają się wyłącznie do udziału przedstawicieli ministerstw, ale uczestniczą w nich także przewodniego, na którym zostaną określone polityczne kierunki rozwoju tej inicjatywy na kolejne lata. Mam nadzieję, że podzielicie się Waszym doświadczeniem, przekażecie swoje spostrzeżenia i oczekiwania, proponując jednocześnie rozwiązania dotyczące kształtu polityki młodzieżowej w przyszłości. Wszystkim nam zależy na rozwijaniu polityki, która jest odpowiedzią na realne potrzeby młodego człowieka i w której młody człowiek jest prawdziwym partnerem. Dlatego liczę na Wasz aktywny udział w forum, owocne dyskusje i kreatywne pomysły. Mam nadzieję, że staną się one podstawą rekomendacji opracowywanych na szczyt Partnerstwa Wschodniego. Życzę wszystkim owocnych obrad i miłego pobytu w Warszawie.
Thank you very much, Minister. I would now like to invite you, Ms. Martine Reichertz, Director General for Education, Culture, Youth and Sports at the European Commission. Madam Director.
Great. Dear Deputy Minister, dear ministers, dear friends, I think it's a real pleasure to be here in Warsaw with you today. Last time I was here, was in March. I was in Auschwitz with Anna, your Minister for Education, Polish Minister, and we walked from Auschwitz to Birkenau. And the message was never again. And I think that's why we also have this few days today with you. I think because the never again is not only about what happened in Auschwitz, it's also about all the events we can see in the world today. And that's why we count on you, because you are the young people. I talk not to the first tables, but the ones who will be working in those days, because for the time being, I think you listen to us, but I think it's really important that you have this feeling that you are empowered. That's my main message. I think we need to empower youth, and we need your ideas to see how we can empower youth, because this is really important. President Juncker, in his last speech in September, said, we need to invest in young people. I cannot and will not accept that Europe is and remains the continent of youth unemployment. This is a complete new speech. I think I joined my job 2 years ago. Youth was really the last priority. It was, of course, on paper, but it was not in reality. Meanwhile, we had Trump, we had the Brexit, and suddenly the oldies like me have discovered that you are pro-Europeans, usually. And that has nothing to do with the 28. This is, of course, also true in the Visegrad countries, because for you it's even more important, because your dreams of freedom, your dreams of democracy, your dreams of being together, I think there is no difference between a young guy in Azerbaijan and a guy in Luxembourg, the country I come from. I think you are all the same. You are all on Facebook. You are all on Instagram. You are all on all those things. There is no difference. There has been a difference in my generation because of World War II. When I was 17, being a Luxembourger, I visited my uncle, and my uncle was in the German army during the World War II. So he hated the Germans. I said he hated because he passed away. And I come with this German boyfriend. I was 17. And he says, no German guy will ever enter my roof. And I took the guy and I left with him. And I think that's really the kind of things we need. Your generation, it's not even imaginable anymore. And that's exactly why we need your help today. And that's why we are here today, because of never again. We need to build not only the Erasmus generation, but we also need to build on the Solidarity Corps, as the Deputy Minister just said. In Erasmus, and I'm not the grandmother of Erasmus, even though I turned 60 this year, I'm the mother of Erasmus, because we celebrated in Europe the 30th anniversary. And last week in Strasbourg, Commissioner Navracsics said, 30 years ago, in '87, I was in Budapest. There was the Iron Curtain, and I couldn't join the program. And you said, Director of the agency, to me earlier on, we are not 30, but 18 years old. So you are really at the beginning. And talking to the people here in the room, which are not yet part of the European Union, I think that's my message. Let's do it without frontiers, without borders, because that is really important, and that's something we need to celebrate, because we have supported 10,000 individual academics mobilities from the Eastern Partnership, 20 young people and 20,000 young people and youth workers from Eastern Partnership. But we need to do more, because politics is not about talking. Politics is about you sharing, having fun, having a beer on the terraces here in Warsaw, looking at a movie together. It's not only about listening to the oldies like me. It's about sharing your experiences. And very often I said that Erasmus is not about what you learn at universities or in schools. It's about sharing of knowledge and experiences. And we always talk about the million babies. Who cares about the million babies? By the way, God knows if that's a fake news or not. But it just shows that the new generation, your generation, is moving on and finding new ways to organize politics differently. And when we look at what's going on in France, where 75% of the members of parliament are newcomers, half of the ministers are women, 35–40% of the deputies are women. I also plea, looking at the girls here in the room, go for it. I think we need a democracy that functions. We need your help. We need your energy. And I'm very brutal on this one. I think my generation, we missed so many opportunities. We put the economy in the front of the table, on the front of the program. We had completely underestimated that we all have a heart. And my heart and your heart is not different. If you function only with your brain, you lose out completely that we all have emotions, we all like or hate each other, and that's what all those programs are about. For the time being, the Solidarity Corps, which has just been launched, will be the answer to get more young people on the mobility programs. Erasmus has still this image of being a little bit of an elite program. And when I look at you, I said to Claire at breakfast, my God, they are all very well educated. When I was their age, I was much more of a rebel. So I really would like to be more rebelistic. I want new ideas from you. I want you to change the world. I want you to tell us what your priorities are, because your priorities are vital. And we need to address this to get the young people back in the political world. Because I don't believe that you are not interested. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here. But you are not interested in the way the oldies were organizing political life themselves, in serving themselves first and not thinking about the common interest. So that's my message to you. Take on. We need you in politics. We shuffle the cards. Do it differently. Put power in this. Put emotions in this. Put your heart in this. Build a better society. You can't be worse than we were, because we failed. I want a society whereby we live in a green world, where we share values, where we share democracy, where things like Auschwitz will never be possible again. This is not given for the time being. And when you look at the role of women in society, once in a while, my generation, we were fighting for our rights. But once in a while, I have the feeling that that battle is not over yet. So my message is to you, and I quote the Dalai Lama, who was saying, each of you is a factor and an actor of change. Trust yourself, go for it, and don't believe in the oldies like me who tell you what to think. It's up to you to take over, and that's why we are here in Warsaw today, not only with the old 28 or 27 member states, but also with the people from the Eastern Partnership preparing for the summit, as the minister just said. Go for it, trust yourself. I believe in you, and I need your help to make this place a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Director. I would now like to invite Dr. Paweł Poszytek, Director General of the Polish Foundation, the Foundation for the Development of the Educational System of Poland. Thank you.
Ministers, and Director Reichertz, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear participants, we are very honored that we were invited to co-host and co-organize this event. This is a great opportunity for our organization to be with you and to show you all our initiatives, and because of the fact that we can see a lot of familiar faces, so it is also the opportunity to continue our common work, which we've been carrying out for so many years. This is really great pleasure because my institution, the institution I represent, the Foundation for the Development of Education System, has got a huge portfolio of different initiatives and programs dedicated to young people. Some of them have already been mentioned. Obviously, most of all, we have recognized as the Erasmus Plus agency. And as it was said, actually it's been 18, 19 years already. 1998, that was the first year that the Poland entered those programs. It was not Erasmus at that time, it was Erasmus only for the higher education. The whole program was called Socrates. Poland joined the European Union in 2004, so as you could see, much before joining the European Union, we were already very active in those European programs. And then in 2003, 1 year before joining EU, we started a SALTO program, and this is the program for dedicated, the European Union's program dedicated to young people and dealing with educational issues for the countries of Eastern Partnership. But that's not the end of the story. Actually, year by year, we were entering new initiatives, and our portfolio was growing and growing. Last year, we had the 10th anniversary of running the bilateral program of youth exchange between Poland and Lithuania. And last year we started a very similar program, youth exchange program between Poland and Ukraine, which actually is a very big success. So that's why we are very happy that one of our guests today is Deputy Minister of Sport and Youth from Ukraine, Mr. Alexander Yarema, who is the chairman of the board of this youth exchange program. And we will continue. We are very happy, and we greeted this new initiative from the Commission with pleasure, the initiative of Solidarity, European Solidarity Corps, and I can assure you, Director Reichertz, that our institution will do our best to implement this initiative as far as possible. And I hope that we have all these capacities and knowledge and expertise to make these initiatives and programs grow in Poland. What can I say more? I felt jealous a bit because Director Reichert's speech was very personal, and I wouldn't like to sound too much formal. And so let me be for a moment a bit personal too. So when I started my work for the agency, it was 1998, the beginning of Socrates program in Poland. We were very small, actually, just a few people, and the program in Poland was very small, just a few projects. I remember that the list of all those projects was on one A4 page. Now we are a very big institution with thousands of projects. We store them electronically, we store them in paper, we have to rent a lot of space to store the results of all these initiatives and projects. After those 18, 19 years, it has really grown into something really big. So I have only one message. Let's grow even further with all this kind of spirit presented by Director Reichertz. So let's grow, and let's make our reality, our future much better with the hands of young people. And we are putting our future into your hands, and we are full of hope that it will be really, really great and wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's grow.
Thank you very much, Director Poszytek, and thank you very much to all the speakers again for providing a solid ground for further discussion, and thank you for opening the forum. It's good to know who the organizers are. It's good to set a good foundation for a few days of discussion among us. It's also very good for us to spend some time getting to know each other, and I would like to invite my colleagues, Marisha and Georgi, for that purpose onto that stage.
Hello, everyone. So we, as you understood probably, will be the key moderators, Max, Marisha, Georgi. And first of all, we want to thank you for this energetic opening with personal stories. And let's give applause to all the organizers, all the people who contributed to making this forum possible. So, as we're in the partnership forum, so of course, lots of it will be about building partnerships and starting or going deeper with our collaborations. And we want to suggest you first, of course, to get to know each other a bit more. So before we start, we want to introduce you some of the digital things that we will use during the forum, because we want to make this forum very visible for all the people who did manage to join, because we know that there were lots of applications and lots of people wanted to come. And now they're watching online, the online broadcasting, the streaming. So let's do it.
Yes, thank you, Marisha. I think most of you have had the opportunity to see our social media stream, which we project here, and hopefully we can project it on other screens as well. It's very simple. Anytime you post some news on Twitter or Instagram, please use hashtag. It's visible here. I'm not sure if, yeah, on small screens. EAPUse or hashtag EAPUse forum. So as soon as you do it and your post is public, we will see it on our stream. And by the way, you can also share the stream so more people who are not physically here could follow what's happening. And we would like to encourage all of you to actively post opinions, news, photos, so we can gather everything together and generate this great content and allow other young people to participate as well. This is very important also for our panel discussion, because as Madam Director mentioned, we would like to hear as many people as possible. And I think it's easy to imagine that we cannot give space to everybody who would like to ask questions to panelists later on. And we will encourage you to ask your questions through online posting, and then we try to, in a way, generate and summarize questions and ask it to the panelists later on. So it's, in a way, a tool for participation.
Yes, good. So now we will try out how it works. As you see, we have this cafe format in a way, and we think this is a very nice format that helps people to get each other a bit better. So we want to ask you now to find out who are the people sitting at your table. So you'll have 10-15 minutes to chat and to learn the names, organizations, countries, a bit of the background of these people who are there. And one more thing before you start is that we also want you to share your expectations about the forum. What do you expect here? What do you expect to learn, to get? What results do you expect? And we would ask you to post 2 expectations from your table to the streamer, okay, to Instagram or to Twitter, so that we can see them on the screen. We know that you will manage. If you feel that you know all the people at your table, please come out from your comfort zone and maybe go to another table and shake the hand and try to get to know other people at the tables, okay? So 10-15 minutes, okay?
distracted you. I'm increasing my vision.
And then we'll have just after posting, it appears in 2-3 minutes, so it might take some time.
Lower attendance because it's to be encouraged because you're rebellious and you're doing fun. And we noticed by their social media activity that already last night they were engaging in this very intensive without any encouragement. So now they're saying this is officially endorsed by EAC. Who are we to oppose that? That's the whole. You've encouraged them to leave home with the love of their life, to drink and to be married. This is great. This is a great package. I hope it's not going to come today.
You know what Lucas said when he came to the PGA after Wednesday? He was talking about Erasmus program and he said that encouraged the youth in the
Yes, so that's definitely does. And I think the one maybe thing was
It's just a figure. Like, there's no evidence. But it's experiments. Yeah, even though it could be half or double, but it's still rolling.
but it's a beautiful rumor. It's a beautiful rumor everybody wants to believe. So why would you go about it?
Yeah, because the first time he was talking about this, he said it's a wedding marriage wedding. Then afterwards he discovered that if there were weddings, that probably also divorces. So that moved on to the babies. Then, you know, the guy, the husband and the wife get this kid, you know, makes you usually the kids. That was really
Okay. Did it work? Yes? A bit more time? Yeah, I see people need more time. We will have a bit more. We see that the streamer is alive and people are posting the expectations. Thanks a lot. If you need some additional technical support or advice from us, we can give it. And now we want to also ask you a few more questions. Yes, we will try to use a bit more digital tools to get to know how do you feel now and what are your expectations and so on. So prepare for the IQ polls.
Okay, thank you, Marisha. And again, yesterday we gave it a try. So most of you should know how to deal with these IQ polls. And if you don't, there's two ways to get engaged. One is to scan the QR code. I will just enlarge it in a second. Or another way, more traditional way, is to open your browser and type in poll.si and enter a poll number. Yeah? Which is showcased here. I guess you can see it also in smaller screens. So as soon as you get in, you'll encounter the question. And we would like you to give us your answers. Yeah? Thank you. Can you? So the first question is, how many times did you visit forums page? We like our page very much, and we do communicate our key messages there. So we're just wondering. So there are some people who does it permanently, and there are some people who don't even know there is a page. We will be referring to the page on later stage as well. Okay, very good. So now we know that some people don't even knew that there is a page, but some people did it at least once, which is very good. Okay, and now with a bit more serious questions. Can you change the question? You can stay in the same page and you will get a new question. So we are wondering, how many new people did you meet on the forum so far? Yeah, and new people, not your old friends you knew before. Some people met more than 20. That's impressive. I heard there was a party somewhere around yesterday, so that must have been a good place. Can this person who didn't meet anybody new show me who he or she is? Who didn't meet anybody new? I'm ready to come and hug. No, it's two. You see, as soon as I hear that I come and hug, they put, yeah. Okay, very good. So let's see the next question. So we were wondering how much our program match your expectations. So you can vote from 0 to 10. I see we are doing a good job so far.
We're getting more and more voters, you see?
Yes,
1/3 almost.
Almost 100, yeah.
Oh, yes.
We just wanted to count how many of you are around. So. Okay, thank you very much. And I think we have one more question. So we are also wondering how many social media posts did you do already?
So if you have none, this is the right moment to start.
Exactly, yeah.
And use the hashtag, of course.
Yeah. 40% of population on this forum who didn't make any social media post. We hope to improve the statistics. Good. And I think we have last question. Have you already signed up for the workshop? It's very simple, yes, no, or it's complicated. If it's complicated, please see me during a coffee break.
Yeah, for those of you who still didn't sign, you still have the opportunity because we have limited amount of number of participants for each workshop, and some workshops are already packed, so you cannot join them anymore. So this is very important to join them now. So just go to the webpage of the Eastern Partnership you form, and click choose the workshop.
Yeah, we see that majority of you have signed up. Those of you who didn't sign up, please do so during coffee break, which will be announced very soon. And who found it very complicated, please see me, Marisha, and Max, and we will talk to you. 20 people. Good. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being around. We will have now half an hour for a break, coffee break or tea break. And then at 5 to 11, 25 past 11, we will start back here with a panel discussion. So thank you very much. Enjoy your coffee break, and please sign up for the workshops.
Don't Больше доступа по пище, ну, возможности. Применение. Самое применение. Всем блин глезно рус. Шипуны, чесари. Аксис. Ну и доступ. Больше доступа. Да сразу нажимать требуется. Больше доступа требуется. Европейском молодежной программе.
Da, e gata. Sperăm că adică să dăm un rol sporit la acea lipsă.
Dar pricina activitatea le
Da.
Работу, проделанную работу. Но именно проделанную работу. Проделанную работу.
Да, ну, centru de resurse pentru investiții, este Caucaz,
Alexandra Frau. Что это структура? Это центр, это структура. Это имел роль в туризме. Он роль в чем из туризма режима. Не лезу к нему. Приносит Вопрос с телефоном. Я надеюсь. Ну,
Сейчас заберите 57 деталей. Не хватит. Да, еще что-нибудь поощряю. Это же рассмотрим, мы будем поддерживать все рекомендации, все
призываю КНР, да. Также я призываю участников.
Да, конечно, с участником в этом форуме.
Я призываю на активное.
Ну, это как бы на активное участие, и пусть на голос
Я призываю участников в этом форуме. Дискуссионных панелях, да? Воркшоп.
Да, да,
На активное участие. Ну, вот. На активное участие.
Till you all just disappear like a sun. Won't you come and wash away like a sun? Won't you come? Won't you come like a sun? Won't you come? Won't you come?
Его слышно? Да.
Cause nothing lasts forever, and we both know hearts can change. And it's hard to hold a candle in the cold November rain. We've been through this such a long time, just trying to feel the pain. Love is always gonna, love is always go on. It's really sure was letting go today. Walking away, if we could take the time to lay on the line, I could rest my head, just knowing that you're in line. So if you want to love me, then darling, don't be afraid. Sometimes I need some time. Sometimes I need some time. All alone. Everybody needs some time. On their own. Don't you know you need some time? All alone. When your fears subside and shadows start I know that you can love when there's no one left to blame. So never mind the darkness, we still can find a way. 'Cause nothing lasts forever, even hope no one believes. Don't you think that you need somebody? Don't you think that you need someone? Everybody needs somebody, you're not the only one. Don't you think that you need somebody? Don't you think that you need someone? Everybody needs somebody, you're not the only one.
So much time wasted playing games with love. So many tears have cried, so much pain inside. Baby, it ain't over till it's over. So many years we've tried to keep all of our life. Baby, it ain't over till it's over. How many times did we give up? But we always work things out. All my doubts and fear kept me rolling. Always a beat in. So many tears have cried, so much pain inside. But baby, it ain't over till it's over.
Okay, very good. I was thinking about the good solution. We're not going to yeah? Very good. No, but here also, we have 7 teachers, yes. But we have 7 teachers, yes. Very good. Any place is fine. Any place is fine. Maybe not the table, but anything up on the table. No. Very edgy. Very bad. Otherwise, yeah. I will be there. We'll all be sitting.
Hello. Could we please have everybody back in their seats? Okay, just before everybody sits down, can I please remind everybody about our social media channels? You do know what they are, and some of you might know that we will be live streaming the panel, and it is our intention to engage our social media audience in discussion that will follow by means of providing space for questions. So if you can tweet and Facebook the discussion and the links to the wider world, that would be appreciated. Okay. Everybody? Right. Right. Welcome back. And I hope you did enjoy your coffee break. I would now like to invite everybody to an interactive panel discussion on enabling all young people to engage in a diverse, connected, and inclusive Europe. I'll just say a few words by means of introduction to the panel, and then I'll introduce our panelists. So I think we are very lucky to be here at the end of the structured dialogue cycle. As some of you might have noticed, the title of the panel discussion is the title of the current cycle of the EU's structured dialogue in youth policy. And I think it's a privilege for us to symbolically be closing this cycle, because it comes to an end at the end of June. And it will be a very good moment for all of our speakers and for the audience and for those of you who will be asking questions via social media to engage in a discussion on those issues. And even though we have a single title for the panel discussion, we have a number of areas that we would like the panelists to address, and we would like you, the audience, whether here or on social media, to challenge our speakers to, and that's namely the challenges for young people in the EU and Eastern Partnership countries, the role of young people in addressing those challenges that the audience and the speakers will identify, the youth policy trends in EU countries, in Eastern Partnership countries, and joint initiatives between the EU and the Eastern Partnership, and the future of EU-Eastern Partnership youth cooperation and the priorities for the upcoming Eastern Partnership Summit. I think we cannot mention this often enough. The recommendations, the outcomes of this forum will be presented at the Eastern Partnership Summit in November. It is a great opportunity for your voices to be heard at the summit in November. Please do bear this in mind also when preparing your questions for the panel. And we are very privileged to have a selection of 7 formidable speakers with us today. And this includes Mr. Boris Jaroszewicz, Head of Eastern Partnership Regional Cooperation and OSCE Division at the European External Action Service, Mr. Intigam Babayev, Deputy Minister for Youth and Sport Republic of Azerbaijan, Mr. Revaz Javelidze, Deputy Minister, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs of Georgia, Mr. Pavel Yanets, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Youth and Sport, Republic of Moldova, Mr. Alexander Yarema, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Youth and Sport of Ukraine, Ms. Alexandra Kalatozishvili, Steering Committee Member and also Working Group 4 Coordinator at the Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum, and Mr. Ville Mayama, Board Member at the European Youth Forum. I hope the titles and the names of institutions did not get your heads spinning just yet, because we need your attention for the panel. And the way that the panel will work is we will have opening statements from each of the panelists. We will have 4 minutes per speaker, and I'll have to note the speakers that will have to be extremely strict in enforcing the timings. You might notice Georgi in the corner in a mildly threatening pose. This is to remind our speakers that we have a strict time limit. We will have then 15 minutes for questions from social media and 15 minutes for questions from the floor. On the side of language and translation, I would like to remind our speakers to adjust the pace of speaking, something I have a problem with very often, so my apologies to the translators, to adjust to simultaneous translation. And on the very same note, if you are intending to ask questions, please stick to using one language. We are at a very linguistically diverse forum. If you would like to ask a question, please ask it in Polish, if you happen to speak it, English or Russian. Okay. Thank you very much. I would now like to ask Mr. Boris Yaroshevich to... Okay, yeah.
Does it work?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. Indeed, I mean, we are preparing for the Eastern Partnership Summit, which will gather end of November, 28 plus 6 head of state and of government. And we have a number of side events which will prepare this summit. And today, I must say, I'm very happy to be here attending. It's the first side event, and it's the third in the history of the Eastern Partnership. We had Youth Forum in 2013 and 2015. We will have more side events in the autumn. We will have a civil society conference, a business forum, we'll have a media conference where, of course, youth will be represented as well. You heard already a very inspiring message from our Director General Reichert on what we expect from you and what we would like you to do. It's also time to listen to you and to have your messages, to listen to your expectations. And I'm very happy that we'll have the opportunity to get questions from you. The summit is, of course, about big politics. You will have head of state, of government, but the Eastern Partnership is a very rich framework, which is based on a daily work, on a number of networks, on a number of meetings, and the Eastern Partnership wants to deliver to citizens. That will be, I think, our main message for the summit, is that the Eastern Partnership delivers to citizens, including to young people. We have done a lot in the past. The Eastern Partnership started in 2009. We had the latest summit in 2015 in Riga. Since then, I would like just to name, I think, very important developments. I think key for you, for instance, the visa-free regime for Georgia, Moldova and Ukraine. I think that's a great achievement of the Eastern Partnership, that you can now travel for short-term stays in Europe without visa. We are also working hard with all the countries in implementing the diverse bilateral agreements that we have, association agreements with Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine, other types of agreement with Azerbaijan, Armenia, that we are, by the way, modernizing, and we have a dialogue with Belarus as well. What I would like to say also that for me it's extremely important not to have a one-way exchange or movement. I mean, as you probably need Europe, we also need you. I mean, and we count a lot on your energy, on your dynamism, on your experience. So it's not only each individual country looking at Brussels, but we have also a lot to learn from you, and I've already spoken to some of you. I think there are extremely interesting experiences that we could use also in Europe, because in the EU particularly, because we are facing the same challenges. All of us, we are in a global world with global challenges, and when it comes to youth, it's about education, it's about employment, and it's about citizenship, empowerment, as Martin Reichert said. So meaning that we expect you indeed to be active in your countries, in your daily lives, and also for me it's extremely important to develop links among the 6 Eastern Partner countries. It should not only be about Ukraine, EU, Ukraine, or EU, Georgia, EU. It should be also about links between the six partner countries, and that's why I mean such events are so important, and we count a lot on these exchanges. And as Max said, I mean we are expecting you to come with ideas which will feed the discussions of the Eastern Partnership Summit, because I'm sure that you have a lot of things to say to your leaders and also to the leaders of the European Union.
On that note, thank you very much. I noticed a certain problem with the timer we set. The timer is very good at counting down from 4 to 0, when what it does later on, it resets itself and keeps counting from 4 to 0 again. So thank you very much, the audience, for bearing with us, and just kindly remind the speakers about the time limit. Thank you very much, Boris. If I can ask Ville to share a few thoughts with us.
Yes, I will. First of all, thank you for giving me back my extra minute. My name is Ville Maijamaa. Don't worry about the pronunciation. It's a Finnish name, but I'm not here for Finland. I'm here for the European Youth Forum. European Youth Forum is the umbrella organization for more than 100 youth organizations in Europe, and we represent the voice of national youth councils like PROM here in Poland and international non-governmental youth organizations towards the European institutions. Asking what are the challenges young people are facing, it's good to ask first, what do we mean by young people? Because partly by answering what do we mean by young people, we can answer what are the challenges. Because young people is a really vague group. Do we mean people from 12, 13, 14, 15, 16? When does youth begin? Well, it begins when you start facing these challenges. Being a young person means that you are in a transitionary stage in your life, from childhood, which is in most cases very well protected, to adulthood and autonomy. So youth is everything in between. And unfortunately, in Europe today, not just in EU, but also in other countries neighboring EU, youth are facing lots of challenges that youth themselves alone cannot handle. But fortunately, if we have good quality policies, we can address these challenges. But in order to do so, we need a cross-sectoral approach. And cross-sectoriality means here that it's not just the youth department in the European Commission or in the government, but it's the different departments working on such diverse issues as housing, mental health, employment, education, etc. We need a cross-sectoral approach. Secondly, cross-sectoral has to mean cross-sectoriality between the government, the public sector, and the non-governmental sector. We as youth organizations are hundreds of youth organizations in Europe, thousands probably. They can do a lot. Youth organizations can connect young people with policy making and decision makers. Unengaged, frustrated young people, they can become empowered and politically active via youth organizations. Youth organizations can complement the role of formal education. We can provide young people with soft skills from public speaking, from networking, from whatever we are doing here. This is not what I learned in university. This is what I learned in youth organizations. But finally, so that the youth organizations can do their job, we need help from the government, as much as they do help from us to reach the young people. There are all kind of barriers at the moment, and I don't have time to go into detail, but I would love to, especially that there are government representatives listening to me, which is actually great. Thank you for this opportunity. But there are situational barriers. Young people living in rural areas have fewer opportunities. Young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, minority language groups, sexual minorities, ethnic minorities, they have more barriers than the mainstream youth. And these barriers have to be addressed. There needs to be more efforts from the states to include also these young people. It's not enough that we include the mainstream youth. Secondly, there are financial barriers. It's expensive. You know, organizing youth, organizing activities is not free. Sometimes, in some governments, they even restrict youth organizations' access to foreign funding. How are we supposed to do our part if you make that difficult? Thirdly, there are psychological and institutional barriers. Youth organizations, civil society, in some governments, in some countries, are considered not positively, but that's bizarre. Please, if you want to make young people happy, if you want to make young people to play part in the society, if you want young people to have access to their fundamental human rights, invest in youth. Don't say youth are the future if we can't decide what that future looks like. So thank you for this opportunity to share these messages, and I look forward to talking with any of you. I will be here for 3 days, happy to discuss. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ville. Thank you for your thoughts and outstanding sense of timing. Thank you. And if I can now ask Alexandra to share her thoughts from a civil society perspective.
Okay. Thanks so much. First of all, let me express my deep gratitude for having this opportunity to address participants of the Youth Forum and share our vision of the challenges and opportunities of young people from the civil society perspective. I represent Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forums. This is just from the beginning, I must say a few words about the structure, just not going deeper in details because we will have such opportunity during the learning space session. So just to be very brief, it's a unique multi-layered regional platform having civil society dimension in the Eastern Partnership. Its mission is the empowerment of civil society in the Eastern Partnership countries to be able to influence as well as monitor the implementation of the policies in the Eastern Partnership countries, and thus supporting democratic transition and European integration on the ground. So going back to what I have asked, I was asked to focus on in my few-minute speech and touching the challenges of young people in the Eastern Partnership region from the civil society perspective. I should say that, of course, we can provide the whole list, comprehensive list of challenges which in some cases are, of course, common for different Eastern Partnership countries, and in some cases they are very specific to particular countries. But I will focus just on a few of them, which are maybe common for the most countries in the Eastern Partnership region. So the first one is the participation of young people in decision-making process. That is especially very important, and limited impact of youth organization on policy formulation. In some cases, we have youth is considered to be less active in political and public affairs in their countries, playing more symbolical role than being considered as real actors or driving force. In some cases, situation is unfortunately even worse, and youth organizations are under constant pressure, so that makes impossible their work. On the other hand, youth CSOs, like civil society organizations, especially in rural areas, usually lack enough capacities, organizational and institutional capacities to advocate for their rights and interests, as well as they lack structured dialogue tools with their national authorities, which could be utilized for advocating for their rights. Of course, there are countries, and for example, I won't go deeper into best practices, but I can say that in Georgia, of course, we have certain progress in this direction, but there are countries where the situation is really very complicated. But what can civil society do to address these challenges, and to build inclusive Europe? I would say that we need to create measures encouraging young people and youth to be better included in various formats, platforms, networks, and so on, that will create a better ground for advocating for their rights and interests. Also, we need to outreach, and that comes to what my colleague Willie has said, we need to outreach more young people, including those living in rural areas and also coming from marginalized groups. That is really very important. And civil society needs to be strengthened on the ground, especially in rural areas. We need to build their organizational and institutional capacities. And what is especially important, I would say that this integration aspect, it's a mutual process. So of course Eastern Partnership countries can do their best to develop their societies, but of course we need support and engagement of European organizations in this, to coach us, to drive us, to share their best practices. So I would say that from this perspective, Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum is really a unique structure which envisages such cooperation, but we need more programs, more formats, and more engagement and motivation for youth organizations to get engaged in this dialogue. Very briefly, I would be happy to answer questions. Unfortunately, it's not, given limited time frame, it's not possible to cover all issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. If I can now ask Intigam to share the Azerbaijani perspective on the theme.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would like to welcome all the participants and thank my colleagues for sharing the valuable thoughts and experience. I believe that these discussions held during this forum will inform the participants about achievements and challenges of youth issues in Europe and Eastern Partnership countries. One of the main ways to enable young people to engage in a diverse, connected, and inclusive Europe is to ensure the participation, activeness, networking, and development of youth both inside the country and on international scale. There are many challenges that world and European youth face. I would like to briefly inform you about works done in Azerbaijan in order to address some of these challenges. One of these challenges is about youth participations in decision-making and policy implementation process. One of the main directions of our work as the Minister of Youth and Sport for Azerbaijan is to ensure youth participation in youth policy-related matters. Each 3 years, Azerbaijan holds National Forum of Youth, where hundreds of young people coming from all the regions of Azerbaijan share their experience, their achievements and challenges, propose their ideas, and form new relations. This allows the ministry and the government to have updated information on youth sphere and topics that are important and interesting for young people, and take relevant and necessary actions for development. Our youth also actively participated in drafting of Azerbaijan Youth Development Strategy in 2015-2025, as well as 3 state programs for youth since 2005. In process of preparation of these important state documents, the Ministry of Youth and Sport organized various meetings, roundtable discussions, debates, online surveys, questionnaires, and calls for ideas which enable young people to participate and to contribute to youth policies of our country. All this process realized with the support and participations of many youth organizations. They also contribute to development of Azerbaijan-European relations by joining various Europe-scale projects and moments. Another challenge is development of investments to projects and initiatives of youth. The President of Azerbaijan and the government are very serious about this matter, and the valuable initiatives of young people are supported in various ways. For more than 5 years, the Youth Foundation under the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan has been providing the relevant technical and financial support to realizations of projects and initiatives of youth organization and individual. Despite the effect of global economic challenges, only last year the Youth Foundation has provided around $3 million in order to support the implementation of 1,008 projects. As you all know, as the result of occupation of 20% of Azerbaijan territories, hundreds of thousands of young people became refugees and IDPs. So another challenge that faces us is to realize relevant projects, focusing on them that will ensure the transformation of active participants of youth policies. I believe that unwanted developments of recent years resulted other countries to face same challenges as well. Protecting youth from violence and extremism is one of main global challenges these days, when young people from all over the world become victims of religious radicalism and extremist propaganda. We as the ministry aim to provide better options and opportunities for youth, spare time spending, involve them to their community's life and support their development with the help of youth centers as well, Olympic complex in Baku and regions in order to project from for these orders. We believe that global scale implementation to resolution number 2250 on youth, peace and security adopted by UN Security Council on 5th December 2015 can play an important role in this direction. I want to mention...
Excuse me, Minister, we need to wrap up, so if you can... We're running out of time.
Okay.
We ran out of time, actually, already. So.
Okay.
Okay, so...
Okay.
Yep. Apologies for the interruption, but we even managed to anger the timer, and it switched off completely. I hope it will come back alive when we've asked the next speaker. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Could I please ask Minister Javalidze to offer his comments?
Hello, everybody. I know I'm short of time, so I need to speak really quickly. And it's challenging. 4 minutes is a very short time to speak about the policies and developments, etc. So let me try to, at least. Well, let me give you brief information about the history of how all of this started after the breakup of the Soviet Union. Let's be clear. Youth-related activities, including in my country, was heavily politicized. So what I can say that, in the course of the several the governments, we've managed that is depoliticized. And by that I mean that young people are freely working and engaging in different programs, whether it's international programs or local programs. And I might say that currently what we have is that we have plenty of NGOs, plenty of young people engaged in different programs, both in the national as well as on a local level. But is that enough? No, it's not. And that is something what is the major responsibility of each of our governments, and including our government, and we're trying to put forward some of the reform programs as well. One of the important challenges that our government and our society is facing is that unemployment, the high employment of young people. And very recent polls have shown, which was in last year, that about 34% of young people in Georgia consider themselves as unemployed, which is really, really high figure. So what we're putting forward is that several projects that will support young people's much active engagement in entrepreneurship skills development, whether it's social entrepreneurship, development of their entrepreneurship skills, as well as general soft skills which are necessary for them to be engaged in different social programs, as well as in the businesses if they have such aspiration. What we are also doing is supporting, and this is a part and a commitment which Georgia has undertaken through the association agreement European Union, that is supporting the youth work development in our country. Unfortunately, we do not have right now the certification process in place, but together with support of European Union and our friends in other countries, we are coming up with some programs that will be in support of this. And we believe that youth work must be properly supported, and in our country especially, as we see the increased number of young people who do need support, as well as we see there's a waves of young people who can call themselves youth workers, engaged and interested to be engaged in different youth-related activities. Volunteering support is yet another way of engaging and assuring the participation of young people, as well as our support with this direction is very important and driven by the EVS program, which is developed by European Union. And that's where we see also the cooperation going. I would like to ask how many young people from Georgia are in the room right now. Please raise your hands. Gosh, that's a lot. Or is that? In any case, thank you for all of you for coming over here, because by forming different partnerships, that is the moving forward. That's what we are also promoting by creating the opportunities for mobility, creating services for youth organizations and young people. But many more things needs to be done. And one of those projects is supporting municipal youth work developing in our country. And that's where we see the partnerships together with NGOs should be evolving. We also would like to see and emphasize engagement of private sector representatives in youth-related activities is a must. And that is somewhere, including our ministry, slightly failing as well. And that's where we'd like to see some of the interesting projects and proposals from young people and youth NGOs from our country as well. To summarize, it's not only regulatory framework, it's not only government commitment, but also very active engagement of NGO sector and private sector, as well as the support from our international partners that really creates the opportunities and solutions as well. And we are very much looking forward to this. There are many bright people in our country, quite motivated, and I'm sure we can create very strong and solid and sustainable partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking my comments about timing limits to heart. Thank you, and can I please now ask Minister Paweł Janec to
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I ask my colleagues who will speak in Russian, and they answer that no one. And I decide to create the diversity to speak in Russian. Добрый день. Я бы хотел вначале поблагодарить за возможность быть сегодня здесь, среди вас, и высоко оценить инициативу и усилия организаторов проведения 3-го молодежного форума Восточного партнерства. Хочу отметить, что молодежная политика в Молдове развивается в соответствии с европейскими программами по развитию молодежи, молодежной политики, как молодежная стратегия Европейского Союза и программа Erasmus+. В 2014 году правительство Республики Молдова одобрило национальную стратегию развития молодежного сектора 2020. Цель стратегии заключается в развитии и укреплении молодежного сектора в течение следующих лет, создание соответствующей среды, чтобы обеспечить для каждого молодого человека развитие в личном и профессиональном плане, в том числе из групп с ограниченными возможностями. Приоритеты стратегии являются следующие: участие молодежи, услуги для молодежи, экономические возможности для молодежи и укрепление молодежного сектора. 2016 год был очень важен для обновления молодежной политики. В прошлом году, после консультации с гражданским обществом и партнерами молодежного сектора, был принят парламентом новый закон о молодежи. Новый закон открывает широкие рамки для развития молодежи, для развития молодежных организаций, молодежных центров, стимулирует участие молодежи в процессах принятия решений, начиная с местного и национального уровня. Также закон о молодежи признает молодежную работу и молодежного работника. И самое главное, для внедрения молодежной политики новый закон о молодежи предусматривает создание до конца текущего года Национального агентства по развитию молодежных программ и работу с молодежью. Другие новшества в законе о молодежи – это изменение возрастом. Сегодня в Молдавии молодежью считается лица от 14 до 35 лет. Раньше в законе от 16 до 30. Также новый закон предусматривает новые принципы межсекториального сотрудничества, развития неформального образования и мобильности молодежи. Волонтерство остается приоритетом для Министерства молодежи и спорта и для правительства. Мы будем развивать дальше основные инструменты по работе с волонтерами, как сертификация организации привлекающих волонтеров, договор о волонтерстве, именное свидетельство о волонтерстве и волонтерское удостоверение. В конце я бы хотел отметить, что от участия от молодежного форума у нас есть ряд ожиданий. Мы бы хотели, чтобы возможности, которые Европейский Союз предоставляет, были как для молодежи и молодежных организациях, так и для властей. Также мы надеемся, что страны, подписавшие соглашение об ассоциации с ЕС, имели бы больше доступа к европейским молодежным программам. Мы оцениваем проделанную работу Центра Салта и хотели бы, чтобы этот центр имел повышенную роль в регионе для продвижения новых возможностей для молодежи на европейском уровне. Я призываю участникам в этом форуме на активное участие, и пусть ваши предложения и рекомендации были услышаны на 5-м саммите Восточного партнерства, который пройдет и состоится в ноябре в Брюсселе. Извините. Спасибо большое за внимание.
Thank you very much. I can please ask Minister Yarema to share his thoughts on the themes.
Hello everyone. Thank you for invitation for this great event. Today we are speaking about the instruments which assist youth to be more active players of our countries. But I would like to start from other aspect, a trust. Any instruments, even the best ones, will not work without trust. Currently we observe a crisis of trust between youth and governments. It often happened because youth was used before as instrument and object. Our task could be fulfilled only together with young people. We should make youth as a subject at the different policy levels. It's very comfortable to cover oneself by the slogan, "Youth is our future," and is such a way to postpone the youth participation in the active civic life. This situation causes a lack of responsibility in the youth environment and paternalism that is especially characteristic for post-socialist countries. Taking into account the current political situation, Ukraine and Europe face similar challenges: unemployment, international and especially in Ukraine internal migration, security problems, but we also have some diversities which demand new approaches. The states should keep the right balance between the youth needs and security system protection. It's connected with a problem which the most Eastern Partnership countries faced with: hostile and aggressive actions of the Russian Federation against our countries. Taking this into account, we should be united in the wish to build joint inclusive Europe for our youth in order they feel themselves secure and comfortable. Ukrainian youth at the cost of their lives choose a democratic way of the development for Ukraine. Democracy is not just a system of government, but first and foremost a way of life where dialogue has a central role. A dialogue which breaks stereotypes, use exchange, build up the dialogue between different groups with different opinions. It is very important to build dialogue not only inside the country, but also between different countries. Madam Director General mentioned that over 20,000 young people and youth workers from Eastern Partnership countries have already participated in Erasmus Plus program. I would like to add that 1/3 of these young people are Ukrainians. We consider this instrument as a great opportunity to create new bridges and connections for our youth and contribute is building a diverse and inclusive Europe. EU-Ukraine cooperation is very intensive and successful at this moment. The visa-free regime was recently granted to Ukrainian citizens. It is an important and well-diverse moment for Ukraine and its citizens that will make our already close relations even stronger. In order to build inclusive Europe and tolerant society, we should invest in youth exchanges. Providing the possibility for youth exchanges, we open the possibility to learn languages, culture, to be close each other, to respect diversity and tolerance. We have good experience and result in cooperation with Poland and Lithuania in the framework of the Council of Youth Exchange established last year. Thank you for... Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alexander, thank you. Thanks to all panelists again. We'll now take questions from social media. I know Georgi's been closely following our social media feed that's come alive. So, Georgi?
First of all, thank you to those of you who post comments and questions on social media. There are a few comments first to start with, I think very relevant. Some people are quoting Ville, saying, "Don't say future, use the future if you don't give us the say." People are happy, they highlighted it's important that youth unemployment is mentioned as an important challenge for young people in the region. One participant quoted that there is still a lot to learn because we have only one lady on the panel among 6 men. I think that's important. And then there is a relevant question following this comment, said how to deal with obstacles of youth to engage in inclusive Europe. That was one general question. No particular challenge was mentioned. And then there is another question on that in various European documents recognize big value of youth work and non-formal education. What can be done by your government? So I guess it's a question to deputy ministers. What can be done by your governments to practically support development and implementation of youth work and non-formal education in upcoming years? So there are a few comments and 2 questions, so I don't know on which you will pick up.
To let everybody know, we are obviously happy to take responses from all panelists. Due to time limits, we might not be able to give the chance to everyone to comment on all comments and to take all questions. Please keep your responses short. Any of the panelists like to respond? Would you like the questions repeated? Okay, Georgi, would you like to repeat just the questions?
There was actually 2 questions. Was how to deal with obstacles of youth to engage in inclusive Europe, and another one was more related to the deputy ministers. Was that there are various European documents recognizing big value of youth work and non-formal education. What can be done by your governments to practically support development and implementation of youth work and non-formal education in upcoming years? So basically, how can your government support youth work and non-formal education development?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take the first wave of questions here. But I guess the second question was actually related to something what the governments are doing. And I can give you an example of what Georgian government is doing and our ministry is doing. I noted that youth work is a kind of problematic, I wouldn't say problematic, but rather something challenging for us because there's plenty of youth NGOs and young people who can consider themselves as youth workers because of the multi-year experience of working on youth-related activities, whether on the national level or together with the foreign organizations which have been quite actively working in our country. Needless to say that we also in our country recognize that youth work is a must for the proper development of particular services for our young people. And we also need to know who are those certified young people who have relevant competencies and knowledge how to work with young people. And this is the very important acknowledgement on our side. And we drafted a law on youth activity, which is considered these days by the government, which has also the component related to supporting youth workers, the worker certification as well. And there's plenty of room of what needs to be done for the identification of the qualifications which a youth worker should have, as well as what type of programs they might be engaged in. And we also developed the so-called framework of competencies of lifelong learning, which is basically based on what has been developed already by European Union. In support of, and also this is very closely tied up with the non-formal educational training programs as well, because I personally believe that youth workers should work and develop the non-formal education training for young people on different topics, whether it's civic education, whether it's time management skills, healthcare, intercultural dialogue, etc. And those programs are already in place in Georgia these days, and lots of different organizations, including our ministry, is carrying out those programs and projects, especially with the focus in the regions. But that is not enough, and that was one of the themes of my initial intervention, that only government, there's never money enough to support all the programs, and there are lots of different topics which can be covered. And I believe that what needs to be done together with the active collaboration with NGO sector, especially in identifying what are the most important interventions which governments need to do at this point of time. And by identifying, let's say, 5, 10 topics, we can have focused approach about what needs to be done on initial stage. And then we'll see, and after analyzing those non-formal education training programs, what needs to be done in future for the proper development of a particular program and support of our young people's engagement, especially in the regions on a local level. I hope I partially at least responded to this. If there will be any follow-up questions, I'll be gladly to.
Thank you. Willem?
Thank you. I thank you for the questions and engaging. And actually, I would like to follow up from what my colleague, I suppose, said. First of all, from Ukraine and Georgia, we both heard that it has to be a partnership. It has to be a joint effort between youth and youth organizations and the government. I fully agree. And in order to do this, what you said, which is to identify the problems and where the government can play the biggest role and make the biggest difference, how do we know what that situation is? How do we know which issues to target? Well, I tell you how. Ask the young people themselves. We often talk about including young people and youth organizations in decision-making. That's fair enough, because clearly we are not there yet. But if we are only involved in the decision-making, that doesn't cover the agenda setting. Before we decide, someone decided what we're deciding on, okay? So for a meaningful participation and to really know what we are talking about and where the money should go, the youth and youth organizations should be included in the whole policy cycle. So on the agenda setting, what we are talking about, in the decision-making, so what are we going to do, but also in the evaluation and monitoring of the decisions. Because if that's not done well, if that's not done in the spirit as it was intended, all of what we've done, all the resources we spent so far, that's gone to waste. So this is how we can identify the places where youth organizations can play a role, where the government should play a role, and this is how we can address the challenges. So not just tokenism, not events every year or two, but constant talk, constant relationship, constant dialogue, and inclusion in every part of the policy cycle.
Any more replies? We can take one or two more from the panel. Okay. Alexander?
Yeah, I try answer for second question about youth unemployment. According to latest survey, 49% of young people in Ukraine work at the position which are not correspond to their specialization, and 30% of young people are overqualified. Their education are higher than their position demands. To resolve this problem, we consider as important to build partnership between business, government, and education sector. In 2016, we support European Initiative Pact for Youth 2020 and launched Ukrainian Pact for Youth 2020. The aim of the pact is to promote the creation of partnership between business and education sector, create new workplaces and internship for youth. Now, more than 50 companies signed the pact, more than 100 partnerships between business and education sector, and more than 5,000 places for internship, and first working place we established, and we are now preparing national action plan for this question.
Well, thank you. Just to follow up on the questions which were put here, how can we deal with obstacles, right? So most probably I will repeat already what I have already said, but I want just to focus on three main pillars, because first, it's very important to engage in policy dialogue with authorities. That's why I have mentioned like structured dialogue, and this means really every stage of the process of influencing the policy on the ground, like from initiating, participating, and till monitoring. Then it's very important to build capacities of CSOs, especially CSOs organizations, to get engaged exactly in these kind of dialogues. And the third, which I have not mentioned before, but I think it's also very important, is to open doors for young people to get engaged in different formats, I mean like consultancy formats, even with EU officials and different delegations visiting countries. That is not the case, unfortunately, and maybe even introducing precise quotas for participation of youth organizations in these kind of dialogues. This can be human rights dialogue and so on, different consultancy meetings which usually take place with civil society on the ground. So we need to engage young people in this kind of process. And also about non-formal education, which is also one of the biggest challenges, I mean, like recognition of non-formal education, which can be also considered as a enabling greater access to employment, I do think that I do agree that it's very important for national governments to understand the importance of recognition of non-formal education. So, and here I do think I do see the role of EU maybe, which should engage with national governments and push them towards broader recognition of non-formal education. Again, the system of recognition of ECTS credits and so on, which are which is still problematic in our countries. Thank you.
Much. I'm hearing we might have one more question from social media.
We have a very interesting question coming up. Yesterday, how many of you watched movie in a Kinoteca? You must remember that when Leo was saying that he was angry seeing that European Voluntary Service was benefiting young people who are already having advantage, education, they are self-confident and so on, and that is why he decided to engage in this very challenging group to work with, which is called young people who have this economic or social disadvantages. And there were some examples shown in the movie. So thank you, Leo, it was very inspirational. I just wanted to remind you this because there is a question on how to get youth from disadvantaged groups, get engaged more on policy dialogue and youth policy making. So that was a very simple question. How can we outreach those young people who are not confident enough to speak up, to talk, to come themselves and to talk to you? So that would be a question.
Thank you. So inclusion of young people in policy dialogue, 2-3 responses can be taken from the panelists. So do any of you like to contribute? Mr. Javalidze?
I'm always ready. Guys, let's be clear. Okay, Ville has said that we need to engage young people in decision-making process. Yes, I agree with you. But if those youth organizations will come and say that, yes, we would like to be part of the general policy-making process, it's very difficult. I mean, it's not going to come in my dreams. Youth organizations have very solid and interesting platform of cooperating with the government in our country. However, we both see there is deficiencies and problems, especially on regional level, where we have the most of the vulnerable groups, including ethnic minorities. So how to engage that? What our government is doing is through non-formal education training programs is creating the motivation among young people to create so-called youth councils, because that's where we see that youth councils can be play a major role of young people's engagement on a local level. But we are also training the people who are in charge of the municipal youth work. And unfortunately, we are seeing that their capacity is not that strong as well. So we are helping the NGO sector development or motivation of young people on a local level, but also we are working and engaging the local municipal civil servants to be much more proactively working with those groups. And that is the way that what we are doing and piloting actually in some of the regions, and we have seen some positive results. But there's quite a large group, and it's not only ethnic groups, it's IDPs, young people with disabilities, women who are in the regions, they are not very proactively working and coming and stepping forward. So what we are doing, first of all, we are going to them, and we are using these channels of communication together with our NGO sector representatives, together with the organizations who are quite actively, vocally working on the topics like engaging specific groups of young people. But let me stay focused on specifically on the ethnic groups. Many of them do not know the national language, and that is a big, big issue. So together with Ministry of Education, for instance, we have the program of teaching them Georgian language so they can communicate properly in Georgian, so they are much more actively engaged in the different programs, whether it's provided from our ministry or any other ministry. There's also separate programs on leadership skills development. I mentioned about entrepreneurship skills development. So there are many different programs on non-formal side that our government is putting forward. But again, I mentioned about partnerships. We also need to see a very proactive approach from the NGO sector. I'm sure there will be something left aside, so which government is not doing. But nobody has precluded any of the NGOs to take the initiative and support specific groups' development and provide services to them. And we believe that through these partnerships, through this active work and not imposed work from the government level, we're going to see much more proactive and much more focused development in each of these segments and the regions. Especially, I would like to note, our youth organizations. They are very proactively working on the engaging through social entrepreneurship projects. And this is a very, very important avenue that our government has taken, and we believe that supporting this type of initiatives is a must. because we're seeing very positive results and we've seen the much higher engagement of young people on local level especially. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Minister Babayev who would like to make a comment.
Спасибо большое. На этот раз я буду говорить на русском, чтобы быстрее свою мысль довести. Времени очень мало. В стране, в Азербайджане, на самом деле уделяется очень большое внимание, чтобы привлечь все социальные группы, и вне зависимости от национальной, этнической принадлежности, вероисповедания и так далее, включая людей с ограниченными физическими возможностями. Главная цель, чтобы во время формирования молодежной политики, принятия каких-то документов, законов, непосредственно услышать их голос, и чтобы документы, принимаемые, не превращались чисто нормативными бумагами для чиновников на их столах. Поэтому во время разработок стратегий, концепций, госпрограмм, законов, касаемых молодежи, создают условия непосредственно для их, чтобы они давали свои идеи и предложения, включая даже используем с помощью скайпа, подключаем наше студенчество, которое обучается за рубежом. Сегодня в стране, в регионах создана сеть, то есть у нас около 40 домов молодежи и центров молодежи, где созданы все условия для того, чтобы в регионах молодежь могла высказываться, участвовать в различных дискуссиях, принимала решения в реализации молодежной политики в регионах. Создаются консультативные группы при муниципалитетах, также, чтобы привлечь общественно активную молодежь и вообще в плане вертикали молодежной политики. То есть государство уделяет особое внимание к реализации молодежной политики. Сегодня в администрации президента отдельно создана структура, есть сегодня отдел, который занимается непосредственно молодежной политикой, есть в парламенте отдельный комитет, который непосредственно занимается молодежными вопросами, есть отдельное Министерство молодежи и спорта и большое количество общественных структур, с которыми мы как партнерство реализуем молодежную политику. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. I hear Ville, did you want to take the floor for a short intervention, if possible?
Always. There's no silver bullet to this question. There's no one single policy because there are no one single disadvantaged group. I listed 4, and I'm going to briefly talk you through how we could address these 4, or maybe 3. Or 2 if I run out of time. First of all, we have language minorities. Well, the simple way to try to get young people involved who have a different language capability or language capacity than the majority youth group, that means we need translation services. But these are not cheap. Translation is very expensive. So that has to be reflected when governments and institutions design what kind of grants and admin support the youth organizations are getting. So there needs to be investment in these kind of measures. Second, disabilities. I was looking around. So far, I haven't seen too many stairs, unless I wanted to be on a wheelchair and talk in this panel. There are 2 steps there. So it's a mind shift. We have to think in very practical terms. Are our meetings accessible? Is there extra transportation covered, planned, paid, if needed, etc.? Are we asking these questions when participants register? If we create this kind of culture, that will also pull in these people. But if they have even single bad experience, do you think they will try again? Some people might, some people don't. We can't trust that. So we have to do it right from the beginning. Thirdly, the rural areas. Again, there needs to be, when we write projects, when we apply for funding, when we design funding schemes, we have to keep in mind that not everything happens in the capitals. Most of these meetings that we attend to happen in the capitals. What about the young people who live in somewhere else? So the funding there has to be, again, tailor-made to suit also the needs of those young people who come from outside our comfort zone. Finally, some examples what we've done in the Youth Forum. For example, in our big meeting in April, we started using gender-neutral toilets, which means that we don't have male and female toilets. We have a sign saying, this room contains cubicles, this room contains cubicles and pissoirs. You can choose whatever you like. It's not your gender that defines that, it's your preference, okay? And secondly, during breaks, we started doing sign language sessions. So the delegate from the youth organization representing the deaf youth in Europe in a coffee break, which you can spend drinking coffee, or you can spend it drinking coffee and learning sign language. How inclusive.
Thank you very much, Ville. We will now have a few minutes to take questions from the floor. Do we have anybody in the room who would like to ask a question? On that note, 2 comments. Please yes, identify yourself.
I see you. I will
ahead
try
of
to manage.
That's fine. We're going to take a while. I'll make the announcement really long. So yes, if we can have a name of the institution or country before you ask a question? And can we please agree on the format of a question as a sentence that has a question mark at the end rather than a comment? So if you could please refrain from commenting and ask questions directly of our panelists, that would be more than welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm Grigor Yerityan from Armenian Progressive Youth NGO based in Armenia. My colleague Alexandra from Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum, as well as the colleague from European Youth Forum, have highlighted how important it is to engage marginalized young people, those who face challenges that are different than the challenges faced by mainstream youth. And unfortunately in this room I don't see many of these young people. And what I would like to ask, it is a question to the representatives of the national government. Do you really see this lack of participation in the decision-making process of young people as a real problem? And is it in your agenda as national governments or respective ministries? And if you see it not only as a declaration, but really see this need, what are the concrete projects your ministries are doing, concrete efforts that you are doing, and concrete programs? Thank you very much.
For the question, I'll pick up the end words, concrete answers, and if possible, short. Would any of our panelists like to take that?
Yes,
we're hearing a certain preference for responses. Okay.
This is becoming awkward now.
Tell me about it.
Let me see on where should I start? Specific programs about engagement. Can you rephrase the final part of your question about the...
So if this is in the agenda of your national governments, what are the specific programs, efforts and projects to increase the participation of marginalized young people in the decision-making processes? Thank you.
To some extent, thank you for the question. To some extent I responded, or I've touched upon it in my responses or reflections in the previous cases. But what we are doing, I mentioned that we are working with a specific group of young people and together with, for instance, World Vision. And there is a so-called USAID project called Growth. We are supporting on pilot level development of youth councils in parts of our country by engaging them into the much more active participation. And what that means is that not simply say that, I don't like this, that if something is dirty, but also proposing how we're going to clean it. So there is some specific action which can be then agreed with the local government representatives, and perhaps it will be part of the action plan between those groups, youth councils, and the local municipalities. I also noted that we are supporting the local municipal civil servants as well. These days, right now, about 73 municipal representatives are working with the different organizations outside of Tbilisi on this program. They're hearing what are the best cases, let's say from European Union or other countries, and how to be proactively working with those youth councils. And they're also taught about what youth activity and youth work stands for, because not many people on municipal level do know about this. So these are the two different efforts which are we specifically putting forward. Then we're going to certainly assess how good those projects are and see whether we can expand it across the whole country. But you mentioned in the beginning of your speech about whether engagement of young people in local decision-making is a problem. We've seen, I personally met lots of disadvantaged group representatives. And not many of them really do know how to be part of this decision-making process or have an idea whether it's needed to. And it's not only something imposed on the governments to actively engage. We simply see the value of hearing the voice of young people. And that is the really driver for me personally as well as for my team in the ministry, to be proactively working and engaging those who feel that they are disadvantaged, and who do not know how to be proactively working with the governments. So going them and knocking on each of the door is something which is not in policy level, but on personal level, I feel is the obligation of each of us, including NGO sector, including private sector, including local municipalities as well. But it's very difficult to knock on each and every door. and identify and see which of the specific groups need support. So this is also the communication strategy as well, which we do not have right now in Georgia in process, but this is something which I will be very gladly working with our NGO community in developing how we need to communicate to those people and what type of support we need to provide those people who need our support.
Thank you. Do we have any more responses from the panel, or yes?
Just a very brief comment, because I'm from Georgia originally, but I represent here Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum, and I usually talk about on behalf of this organization, but just to give some overview on the perspective how it works in Georgia. For instance, in our country, and in every country, there are like national platforms, civil society form national platforms, and in Georgia, Georgian national platform does have 2 memorandums of cooperation with the authorities. One is with the executive branch, with the government of the Prime Minister, and another is with the Parliament. So this gives very good structured way of communication and participation, including for civil society organizations, including young people, because youth is encouraged to participate in the Georgian National Platform and get engaged in its activity. So this is one of the best practices which I can share with you. So, and within the framework of these memorandums of cooperation, which are not available only on the paper, but they are really working on practice, and we do have systematic conversation, dialogue, debates with the authorities on various issues. We have sectoral thematic meetings. We have annual conference with participation of the Prime Minister, where we have possibility to exchange our views, to provide our ideas, our policy briefs on various acute issues in the country. And after that, we have follow-up sectoral meetings, which give possibility to discuss and implement introduce our ideas into the national strategies. So that is really very important. And maybe this is something that can be shared by others also, like this kind of approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll allow myself to invite another question. I know there might be other comments and we might have other time to tackle them. Yes, there was a question in the back of the room. Tanya?
Hi, my name is Tanya Basarab, and I'm from the partnership between the European Commission and the Council of Europe in the field of youth. I have a question to the representatives of ministries or departments for youth and sports from the Eastern Partnership countries. Given the rather insignificant role these ministries have in the big picture of governments in the region, and given the big mistrust that young people have with, generally with decision-making and governments in these countries, how do you see the impact of your work? We've heard a lot about the resources and the programs. I would be interested to know how you see the margin of maneuver that you have to really improve the situation of young people. And related to this, how much do you consider important the role of research or evidence-based policy?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this question. I understand that the question was directly addressed at the government representatives. If I can invite some non-Georgian perspectives on issues, that would be welcome. Otherwise, we can always revert, yes. Would any of our panelists like to respond to the question?
I try by, excuse me, my English not so very good, I try in Russian. На самом деле для нас очень важно то, о чем вы говорите, и если посмотреть на то, каким образом мы строим политику, в первую очередь отношения с гражданским обществом, с организациями гражданского общества, партнерские отношения, потому что если смотреть в Украину, большая страна, большое количество молодых людей, не так много людей, которые работают в этой сфере, и которые занимаются государственной молодежной политикой. И мы понимаем, что без развития партнерства, без такого развития партнерских отношений с разнообразными организациями, в первую очередь молодежными, которые объединяют молодых людей по разным направлениям, достичь реальных результатов невозможно. Во-вторых, это обоснованная молодежная политика. Конечно, у нас существуют ежегодные социологические опросы, где мы видим, каким образом то, что мы предпринимаем, влияет на молодых людей. Мы сейчас работаем вместе с представителями гражданского общества. Тут присутствуют, в частности, лидеры Национального совета молодежных организаций, с которым мы буквально недавно подписали меморандум о сотрудничестве, индикаторы молодежной политики. Потому что молодежная политика – это такая кросс-секторальная вещь. Вопросы молодежи есть в разных министерствах и в разных ведомствах. И это вопросы образования, это вопросы здравоохранения, это вопросы трудоустройства, много-много других вопросов. И мы сейчас работаем над тем, чтобы описать вот эти индикаторы, по которым можно будет судить, сколько инвестирует государство в решение вопросов молодежи и каким образом изменяется ситуация молодых людей на протяжении конкретных периодов. Мы над этим работаем с гражданским обществом, с представителями молодежных организаций. Конечно, очень важен диалог на разных уровнях, потому что на самом деле и независимо от того, насколько большая или небольшая страна, видим, что молодые люди, которые проживают в разных регионах, в разных местностях, имеют разные вопросы, с которыми они, разные вызовы. И поэтому действительно вот этот многоуровневый диалог и вовлечение сюда не только государственной власти, но также представителей органов местного самоуправления, то есть показать возможности участия и важность вовлечения молодых людей в процессы принятия решения и формирования сегодня, завтрашнего дня, каким образом вот, порядок, адженда, скажем так, для страны, для региона, для города, она должна, и мы пытаемся строить этот диалог, формироваться только вместе, не для молодежи, но вместе с молодежью. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Спасибо.
Коротко, да, я во время ответа на предыдущий вопрос тоже отметил. На самом деле, я думаю, что у нас в стране все-таки реализуемая государственная молодежная политика имеет непосредственное влияние на нашу молодежь, на ее развитие. И мы поэтому, я еще раз хочу повториться, мы все, что реализуем, стратегии, государственные программы, принятие законов, стараемся, чтобы именно было то, что хочет молодежь, чтобы отражались их интересы. Непосредственно сегодня гражданское общество в лице наших молодежных организаций, у нас более 300, активно участвует в принятии решений всего того, что относится непосредственно к развитию молодежи, как молодых граждан, как молодых избирателей и так далее. Непосредственно сегодня то, что я перечислил, вертикаль власти, то есть сегодня и человек, который возглавляет отдел в администрации президента, отвечает за молодежную политику, человек, который возглавляет парламентский комитет, в Министерстве молодежи и спорта, включая меня, многие наши сотрудники и так далее, все мы имеем отношение в той или иной мере к гражданскому обществу, то есть молодежному движению, общественным организациям, имеем достаточно большой опыт. Я думаю, что здесь принцип в том, чтобы нам легче понять молодежные организации, их чаяния, их идеи, и легче им оперативно помочь, то есть обходя все какие-то, в плохом смысле, бюрократические моменты. Я думаю, что сегодня то, что реализуется в Азербайджане для молодежи, оно непосредственно влияет для их развития, их формирования, для реализации их идей, как для своего развития и как во благо обществу. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time, so I will close the discussion on this question now, and I'm afraid we will not have the time now to take any more questions from the floor. On a more positive note, I'll just try to highlight maybe a few points from the discussion and suggest ways in which they can be addressed further within our meeting format and maybe through others. We've touched upon such a variety of topics that I don't see a way of summarizing the discussion. I just noted down a few issues we highlighted. Our panelists and also you in the audience have spent quite a lot of time identifying the different challenges we face here, and you've spent quite a lot of time talking about exclusion, because inclusion was the main topic of the panel. So you've highlighted exclusion issues related to lack of mobility, mobility opportunities, mobility legislation, mobility frameworks, exclusion of rural youth, so the issues of mobility in the geographical sense, the lack of of gender inclusion and gender equality as well. Those are particularly close to home at this panel, I understand. And you've also identified a number of solutions that both the panelists and people in the audience, participants of this forum, and our social media followers, and there is quite a lot of food for thought there in terms of mobility programs, mobility frameworks, a lot of new energy out there in terms of EU Eastern Partnership cooperation. So the new programs such as the Eastern Partnership Youth Window or the EU for Youth frame that goes wider, goes beyond the window, the new opportunities in bilateral cooperation that have also been referred to. And quite importantly, a lot of you mentioned the cross-sectoral aspect of the work we do. So the need for policymakers, for youth organizations, for young people to come together. And I think the forum is an excellent opportunity to do just that. And there'll be plenty of opportunities over the next 2 days at least, both within this space and via social media. I noticed with interest that some of my panelists managed to be in the panel and on social media as well, so that's very good to see that. So there are parallel channels of communication, so you can use those. So if you're good with your Twitter, please keep asking your questions and adding your comments there. If you'd rather talk to our panelists, I know that they'll be available over a lunch break that's a bit later on, not just now. And I hope that you can join me in thanking all of our panelists for their great contributions, not the least Minister Babayev, who is so committed to spending his time with young people and youth organizations and decided to spend his birthday with us today. So thank you very much to all the panelists. And I will pass the floor to my colleagues who will have a few announcements. You know, there isn't a good youth Eastern Partnership Youth Forum without announcements, and I'm sure you've suffered a shortage of those. So thank you very much to the panelists again, and I'll invite my colleagues to take the stage now.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks a lot. So for the next part, before lunch, we'll work a bit with the paper. You all have the guide, the program, and the map on the table in front of you. If you don't have, just please grab from somebody or use it, share it with your neighbor. So we'll explain a bit how we will proceed. And having this panel discussion, of course, we raised a lot the questions of inclusion and youth policy. But we just want to remind that the topics of this forum are much broader, and we have actually 3 key topics that we are going to work on until the end of tomorrow. And this is, of course, young people as active, responsible citizens, which means volunteering and also engaging in youth policy. And, of course, like young people and how can they start their own business or an enterprise and also be engaged into social entrepreneurship. And as well, we will have lots of discussions here about transversal competences and recognition of non-formal education and how formal, informal, non-formal education are interrelated and linked. So we will go for the lunch, and after the lunch we will come back here, and this space will transform into a huge learning space. What does it mean? We will have 1 hour and a half of kind of appetizers and small workshops and meetings with big fish, with different international institutions, and we'll have possibility to talk to them and get actively engaged and discover more the topics of the forum. So we will just give you a bit of understanding and orientation. So if you look at the map, you will see different spaces, right? So we have rooms of different colors, yes, and we also have a description, detailed description on the web page of the forum. So if you still didn't manage to use it, you can go online and you can just read a bit more. What it means that you can surf in this space, and it doesn't mean that you need to stick to one particular place. So you can visit several learning spaces during 1 hour and a half and chat to different people, explore more the topics. So just briefly to explain what we will have. So for example, there will be the big room with experts and facilitators who will be telling you more about volunteering, and you'll have different activities and tasks there, and you also learn about the updates that we have in the sphere of volunteering. We will also have in this plenary, it will be transformed, we will have big fish meetings. So it means that different stakeholders, they will be here, and you'll be able to approach them and ask more questions about their work and how they can participate, how you can participate as organization or youth worker in different activities. And also you'll be able to learn how to develop more projects and programs together between program countries and Eastern Partnership countries. So this is your chance, don't miss it. And as well here, we will have also the youth policy corner in a way. And you'll be able, instead of reading policy documents, to talk to youth policy experts. Yes, so and ask relevant questions that probably you didn't manage to ask to the panel and that are still burning. We will also have hacking recognition space, which is the appetizer to the recognition workshop. And there you'll be able also to learn about new digital tools of non-formal learning recognition. So don't miss this chance to create badges and get more recognition of the learning you got. We will also have practical workshop, social entrepreneurship, and you'll be working there with your hands, so you'll be able to experience social entrepreneurship in practice. We will also have a few more corners behind the elevators. They are marked on the map, so you'll be able to go there, and you'll find the sharing space, which is basically a library of different good practices that we're using in our countries and international practices. So you can go there, you can of course grab some books, but you can also talk to people who can recommend you like where you can find loads and loads of materials and recommendations how to work with young people at local and international levels. And also you will be able to find leaflets and different information about organizations that we have. And also visual space. Visual space is the space where you can just leave your message. You can draw, you can be creative, you can put down the highlight or some quote from the forum that you have, and we will also have it later on recorded by graphic recorder, and we will be able to see it in the reports and on the stage. And as well, I think the one that I missed is project idea space. So we will have special room where you can already start networking. And if you see on second day, we have open space for sharing and networking. So it means that we also expect some kind of practical results after the forum, not only the policy recommendations, which are very important, but also some concrete steps that you can take after you go back home. So we will ask you to start already brainstorming and putting your ideas and looking for partners.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to highlight that if at any moment you find that you have a great idea or you have some topic which would be great to utilize in this forum, then please, in order not to forget, note it on the space, on a wall, and then we will give you 1.5 hours for this during after lunch session tomorrow. I just wanted to highlight.
So it's up to you. You are very free and flexible here to choose where you go. If you will need any advice, me and Georgi are always available, and we can just tell you and recommend some concrete learning space depending on your needs and interests. We also have facilitators of the workshops and also of these learning spaces. We can see you guys, if you can stand up so that people know whom they can approach. Yes, yes. So these are the people that were designing the learning space, so you can also approach them. Yes, we have red badges, just in case. Thank you. And of course, we also ask you to be very actively exploring the space. And we know that, of course, some people would like maybe to go to the room, but we know that in the rooms, the gravity is very strong, so sometimes you don't go out. So this is really like the space where you can walk, chat, and you are very free and flexible in learning and discovering new things. Which one?
Communication, strategic communication.
Oh, Jesus, yes. This is a very important workshop where you can develop a campaign. So you will meet a very, very famous expert, and you'll have the opportunity to understand more about the communication, how it works, and to develop the campaign. And we also think that tomorrow, if you will be really up to this campaign and you will enjoy the ideas, we can also have time to develop more campaigns tomorrow during the open space for networking and project ideas. Good?
And to continue on this, thank you, Marisha. From now on, we will not have opportunity to have everybody like this gathered and inform you what's happening. That's why it's very important that we will be very independent and understand what's happening in a program, because after learning spaces, which will be in a way organized mess, we will have a coffee break from 4 to 4:30, and at 4:30 you are invited to join your workshops. I hope by now everybody knows on which workshop to go. If still some people find it's very complicated, again, please find me and Marisha, we will try to help you. Otherwise, please go to your workshop. Yeah, it's also given on a map, so you'll know on which workshop is held where. So we'll have workshops from 4:30 until 6:30, so for 2 hours. And then you'll be released, so you'll have some time to prepare for tonight evening. And this very important logistical information is that at 7:15, correct me if I'm wrong, 7:15, there will be buses waiting for us in front of the hotel, and then we will be transported to this Belvedere where President of Poland is hosting us tonight. So you remember how is smart casual? Yeah. And please don't be late. You might, or I guess you need your IDs and passports. We'll please also take it with you. And then we will go all together to this banquet at Presidential Palace Belvedere, which is not only a nice banquet, but it's also a historical site and historical building. So it's very, very, very interesting place to visit. So that's for today, and I hope all of you understand how it works, because you will be invited to be very independent from now on until tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning, what you need to know is that we will start not 10 a.m. like today, but we will start at 9 a.m.
Here.
Yes,
in this place.
And tomorrow morning we have 2 very important people coming and making welcome speeches for us. We have a European Commissioner for Neighboring Policy and Enlargement, Johannes Hahn, who will address our forum tomorrow. And then we will have Deputy Secretary General for Youth and Foreign Relations, Ministry of Education and Research of Estonia, will also address us here. So we will see, there might be some interesting news announced by Commissioner. And then we will, after this morning's speeches, we will have, again, opportunity to continue working on our thematic workshops until lunch break and work on development of the recommendations. Yeah, so, and then we'll have lunch break, and then after lunch break, we will come back here again, and then mainly we will spend our time in this space like we are doing now. 2 technical announcements, and then we will let you enjoy a lunch break. Lunch break will be held on 2 levels, one on a ground floor, and then there is another space in a -1 floor. You enter from this same place where you enter the ground floor dining place. It's close to reception. And another very important thing is that you are kindly asked to bring back your headphones. Yeah, so before you go to the lunch, please bring it back and sign that you brought it back. Other than that, enjoy the lunch break, and the learning space will start at 2:30. Yeah, 2:30. Thank you.
Dears, we also know that after we come back, after lunch, the tables will be removed. So if you can grab your things, please take your things, because we will not have tables in the afternoon here. Thank you.